Okay, guys, welcome. This is the first Facebook Live in this private group. Again, not everybody can see this. You have to be invited. Now, um, by next Saturday, if you're not an official member of this group, then you'll be taken off the list. And to be in this group, you can do it for $100. Then after that, it'll be $250. And the benefits to that is being able to share in the tournaments um, and also learning the business skills, obviously. Some discounts. I'm even putting together a package that's really crazy. But let me see if I can invite some people to actually watch this because this is the beginning. And a lot of you are just not logged into this as of yet. So let's see. Let's see who will be watching and participating. Okay, cool. Yeah, do you want to tag him? No, he's not here. Okay, so the reason we put this together, you guys already know, was because we literally we wasn't happy with the situation. And that being the case, then when I was away in England, I started doing some videos, and then I got a phone call from that person right there, Mr. Conroy.
How, how are you, Mr. Fontanez?
I'm doing pretty good. So it seems to me that this is your first Facebook Live, right? So we have an exclusive here.
Yes.
That's cool. So in a nutshell, I'm just giving an overview of what the heck happened. Obviously, I was overseas and you contacted me. But before even saying that, I want you guys to know that we know each other, him and I, since the 1980s, early 80s, maybe 81, 82. And throughout the years, a lot of people might be confused because Mr. Conway's been a coach for so many different teams, but the majority of the times in recent years that I've gone to NASCAR events, I actually was whoa, I hear background noise.
The adult education classes near you. I've finished.
Whoa.
Gone?
Yeah. All right, good. Yeah, that's what happens when we're live. Anyway, so again, a lot of people don't realize that probably in recent years, I've probably roomed with you more than most people at even NASCAR events, which
Yes, sir.
yeah, which is interesting. But what honestly, what compelled you to contact me while I was overseas, man? Because that was a pleasant surprise. But and I knew that you already had your stuff going on. But what compelled you then?
Well, years ago, we talked about becoming partners and doing stuff with UMAN and PSKL, um, and things have happened, so it never clicked. And when I seen you over there with this opportunity overseas, and it's something I tried to do with the PSKL, but it's very hard to get off the ground with this being off the ground already. I think it's a great opportunity, and I think that with the both of us, we can definitely make this work for sure.
Well, I think it was. I agree, but it was shocking to me to think that they already had so much going on. Was that surprising to you?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Man, 27 countries that participated. And again, no disrespect to any organization that doesn't have those numbers, but those numbers have to be, they're impressive, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That intrigued me, and that made me wanna join and come and see, what we can do to look forward in the U.S. for the sport.
And guys, just so you really understand, Mr. Conway was already helping me 10 years ago when I had UMAN. I'm getting confused with his acronyms. UMAN, United Martial Arts, Unified Martial Arts Network. And you know, we actually threw a tournament in Puerto Rico that was a UMAN event, but it was actually run by PSKO, and you actually went to Puerto Rico, which was interesting. Our buddy there, Louis Fast Guy, Cruz, and that's again not normal, right? Normally organizations clash with each other, but we've always gotten along, even with our organizations. What the heck is that about?
No, absolutely. I mean, if you can make it work, you should make it work. I mean, too many, I think too many organizations they try to keep it within, and it's really hard like that. And I don't. want to use the wrong words. I mean, I believe in good in all of the organizations, and we're definitely not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are trying to maybe bring back some of the stuff that used to be, if that's the correct way to say it. But when it used to be, there was seemed to be a lot more competitors. The competition did seem a lot harder. We used to go, even when we went 3 points, it was harder to get 3 points than it is to win a 7 point spread match.
My
So
God. Hey, so let's talk about a little history there because remember going to the Battle of Atlanta and they split the division in half?
oh, absolutely, absolutely, yes.
And there would be like
Uh,
40 people in each one, and they brought it down to four or some nonsense.
oh, absolutely. Battle of Atlanta U.S. Open. I remember fighting 7 fights in the U.S. Open. I lost my eighth fight and took like third place. So I mean, they people there. It was unbelievable. The tournaments had so many people.
And even in forms, right? The forms division, if
Oh
you
yeah.
if you did open forms or whatever form there was, you would look down and it was the line was really long. So to take eighth place was like kind of cool. Eight from 40 something people or 60 people.
Yes, yes, for sure. For
It,
sure.
and I think it's hard for people to fathom that being possible. But let's think about this. If you take all these crazy divisions, and the reason I say crazy because you can do the same weapon form sometimes in three different divisions. But if you just had it in one, and you actually have more competitors there, it makes you appreciate more what you place. Because if you took first that day, oh my God.
Oh yeah. Yes, I agree with that. I mean, there are levels of competition and events that we definitely have to, work with the competitors. We're definitely trying to make this more competitor friendly as far as, and competition, and as the worlds and stuff like that, it's I just see the future being so bright and the divisions being, big in that because we have to find what we're, I think what's going to make us so good and so different from everybody else is that we're trying to hit a different a different realm. We're trying to get the people that aren't competing right now. You and I talked about that. We're not looking to steal competitors or anything like that. We're looking to, build our own brand in the U.S. It's already built overseas. Um, so I think that doing this here and working with you, the people that know you closely know that, you've had the most successful school at one point. You've done the rec suits. You've been not just one of the top competitors, the top competitor, ever coming out of New York. And if you just talk to your business sense is unbelievable and your drive when you get on something. So that's what makes me extremely happy to work with you because when I come up with an idea or you come up with an idea, I don't have to worry about writing it down and taking the time to go and do it because you just run with it, and so
Hey, this
that's
is
what's
our
great
last
about it.
rodeo, baby, so we have no time to waste, right? I've been putting in 14, 18 hours days, and I think the so-called work that I'm doing is evident. And I appreciate that you noticed that because I know that this is not an easy thing. I mean, let's talk about that for a second because what we're trying to do right now, literally, is not easy, but it's possible.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Yes. You know, you're what we've talked about in bringing the business aspect into the schools because most of the top competitors in not in the country in the world, they don't have students competing, and we're trying to figure out why. How can we do that? How can we, you know, help people build their business and have successful businesses and also have good students and good competitors. Okay, so it's does competition ruin students? No, you have to train your parents and your students for tournaments. If you have a team, you have to separate that and work that within your school. Of course, every school is not going to have kids that want to compete are going to compete, but it's up to us to train people on how to separate that and bring these competitors, you know, out to these tournaments. If you have 100 students, there's no reason minimum you could have minimum 10 competitors to go to a tournament,
And that's being conservative,
So,
because if you take the 80-20 rule and you break that in half, that's 10 out of 100, which is fine. So if you have a 500 school, student school, you might be able to bring 50 people. And some of these, and just like what you said, some of these top fighters of yesteryear have had a hard time to bring students to compete. And honestly, we spoke about it. I don't blame them because the respect part of it alone, the students, they learn the student creed. And then when they go to tournaments, sometimes it could be a little opposite from what they used to. And again, no knock into what has happened. I get it. God bless them, best wishes. I think there's enough space for all of us. We're going after a group of people who have been in dormant state for a long time. But at the same time, I believe that they really do have quality. Like my student Mighty Joe cannot teach anything but what the hell he knows. And you and I both know that's one of the baddest freaking fighters probably ever in any form of rules.
oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and it, it's, it hurts me to not see even a lot of my own fellow teammates being on Paul Mitchell, not having a Pedro Xavier school out there, and not having an Alberto Montron school out there, not seeing Joe Pina around anymore. He took a different avenue with the Taekwondo, which is fantastic with the Olympics and everything like that. But these are people that even instructors like Tokyo Joe,
Hey, Stingo.
my Stingo Garcia,
Now let's stop for a
um,
second. Let's stop for a second. How many students approximately, and be conservative, you think they'd have collectively?
oh, shoot, we're talking probably at least probably 2,500 to 3,000.
So imagine using the 10% ratio there, how many competitors these people were able to bring. I mean, but now when you combine the business structure, it makes a little more business sense, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what's going to separate us, I believe, from the others, is educating on having successful schools and having competitors also, and not having that stereotype of, oh, competition ruins students. I mean, you had one of the biggest schools ever, over 300 competitors, okay, and you had a ton of competitors. You had your own team, totally awesome. I used to go to a tournament and fight two or 3 year guys in a tournament. It's Joe Pina had a slew of people, every one of them good out there competition. His school was big. I mean, I'm still going. I had a ton of competitors throughout the years. So we're gonna do our homework and figure out how to draw this in, and how to convince these people that, hey, this kept us around, this kept us going. I mean, competition really kept myself going, and kept me involved in the sport, and it helped me still keep my students up to date on what's going on today.
You know what's interesting, and we spoke about it briefly today, but you and I are definitely two people who pretty much have kept ourselves involved. Now, I did it in the capacity of rec suit Farley, vicariously. Then I popped up and competed. You did it more as a coach in recent years. But when it comes down to it, most of our peers have disappeared, man. We're some of the few left in leadership positions. Isn't that true?
Oh, absolutely, yes, it's true. I mean, and we have to figure out why. That's my big thing is, why. And is it just that, why did we stick around? I mean, believe me, going into coaching was, I'd much rather have been fighting.
Okay,
Coaching is
let's be
hard.
fair here. You just said that, and that's really, really ironic, because today I was saying, I don't want to do this. This must be done. I'd rather be competing in this. But no one took
Yes,
care of it at the level I think it was possible, because we were already in the Garden. We're already on ESPN TV. We're already in the Wembley Stadium and so on and so forth. I mean, let's keep it real. You and I, as competitors, had an opportunity to literally get away from the so-called ghettos of the Bronx and Connecticut and what have you and travel the world. Let's talk about that for a second. How many places have you been to from a competitive standpoint?
Oh, listen, I'll be honest with you. I mean, people look at Connecticut as, oh, this is Connecticut's a nice place, this and that. I didn't come from the nice place of Connecticut. I came from Fairhaven in Connecticut, New Haven, the Hill section, which were very, you know, poor
They call it the
parts
hood
of
today.
and
Right
rough.
now we just call it
It,
ghetto.
it it's called the hood. It was called the hood back then too, you know. And if it wasn't for being picked up by Spider Brand and Paul Mitchell, I probably never would have left Connecticut. We had no money, you know. We were we didn't have anything, you know. So thank God for martial arts. It kept me, you know, probably, you know, off the streets alive, and to
Same thing
see
here.
see you know, see not only other countries, but shoot, just going to another state was a big thing for me when it
Huge,
first happened. You know,
huge.
you know.
Hey, let's talk about this for a second. Quick thing, because a lot of people, again, in recent weeks, I think I've exposed a lot of history that people just don't know. I've interviewed quite a few people. We're going to continue with that because it's important that we know our stories. But you said something that I think was so cool because we all wanted to be Bill Superfoot Wallace, you know, and we have a great relationship with him, obviously, in different levels. But you mentioned something in 1987. Something happened to you that changed your idea of what would have been your competitive career. What was it that happened?
Well, our school, JKD Karate, was a big, like, we used to do a lot of kickboxing and boxing and things like that, and you go get beat up for nothing. And '87 was my first big tournament win. I won the I was a super lightweight at the time, and I won the New England Open. They used to call it Superstar Showdown
Whoa, whoa,
at that
okay,
time.
let's stop that for a second. Guys, listen closely. Each event literally had two versions of it. The daytime eliminations where the masses were at, and then a separate nighttime show that was labeled something different. And you used to get media there because the Boston Herald used to be there, and a whole bunch of other groups used to
Yeah,
be there too. Sometimes politicians and even other athletes that might have came in there. Isn't that true?
absolutely, yes, sir. Yes,
People
and
just don't know
you
that.
know, no, I mean, the tournament was a huge tournament always. In New England, I believe that was probably at that time the biggest tournament. And I won 100 for first and $1,000 for the grand champion.
Well,
And that was
excuse me.
1987.
Can you say that again,
100,
please?
100 for first and $1,000 for grand champion
Was
in
this American dollars?
1987. This was American dollars.
Isn't that just about what they give today if you're lucky?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Now that same hundred and that same $1,100 back then bought a lot more food. I believe you know than it would today, huh? Or sneakers.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yes.
And it's pretty crazy because fact of the matter is that if we go back to 1971, the Battle of Atlanta also gave away $1,000. And of course, that was not the norm at the time. It just started a new standards. But what I'm saying, guys, is this: it's not about the money, because, in all honesty, all our experiences supersede any income that we ever made. I mean, because the hours that we put in, even in competition, you probably, maybe you made $1 an hour, but still, isn't that true? I mean, let's think about that. How much we've invested in
Oh,
this.
oh, absolutely. And if it, you know, if it was about the money, we definitely definitely wouldn't be doing it. You know, people are doing it for the love of competition. You know, but the love of competition seems to be the same love all the time. It's the same group all the time. You know, and it's very hard to get groups out of different places. You know, you just get them same national competitors, the same regional competitors, and that's it. You know, you don't go to, you know, you can go to some national tournaments and see three people in a black belt division. It's like, holy
Something
cow. I
something
mean,
wrong with that. Something really wrong with that.
yes, and not knock anything, because I love sport karate and I love the circuits, and I love being out there. It's adrenaline rush for me. I like standing on that line with my players, having a team. I like going coordinating tournaments. It's just in my blood, and that's why this venture with you is so important to me. And like you said, the last hurrah, and it's gonna work. You know.
Yeah, and you know what? And we're gonna blink, and just like when the smallest rec suit we had was given to your son, and now he's bigger than you. That thing messed me up, man. How fast?
Yes,
That
yes.
that's
Paris
insane,
will, Paris will be going to college next year.
man. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that was just the other day, and I was there with my son when that happened, and my
Yep,
son's 35 now.
yep.
So these next 20 years are gonna go by really fast.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, and it's I don't want to say I'm afraid of it. I'm excited about it, but you do worry about it, because in 5 years we're going to be like, holy cow, we got to do more, and then you're right. Them 20 years are going to go by fast, and I've always said, as long as I can make an impact in this sport, my job is done. And I think this, finally, I found the way to make an impact in the sport. I was the first one to break away from a regional circuit that is very successful, been around forever, and do my own thing for over 15 years. Okay.
And for
And
whatever it's worth, guys, just so you know, it's not like he did that and they didn't want him to be participating because they wanted you to participate. Because for whatever it's worth, you're one of the prince in the whole group, and these guys were like, no, 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 you can do it with us, not, and you just didn't feel like it was the right thing to do, huh?
well, I still have integrity. I still, when they asked me to come back and do it and join in with them, I still said no. I said, look, I says, I didn't leave the organization for anything else, but I didn't agree with what was going on. I didn't agree with some of the rules. I didn't agree with this. So instead of me, I could have went with them, made a lot of money on my tournaments, and did well. Um, but I'm the kind of person, I still have to look in that mirror and say, hey, you know what? Are you happy with what you're doing, really? And that's why when I seen this and I seen you out there, I says, you know what, this can really work. This can be the thing, you know, that can really work. I think, all the lines are up now. We just got to cross them, So this seems to be the best opportunity for the avenue that I wanted to go, and to really make the impact in the sport. And I think that we can definitely do it, for
Well,
sure.
let me just say this much that, and again, I'm being candid, guys, here. You and I have been straight shooters throughout the years, and because of that, we always got along. Always had a ball. So many freaking laughs. It's kind of ridiculous, when I remember that. But just to be fair, in recent years, you and I both lost loved ones. Rest in peace to your dad, and rest in peace to my baby brother. You also had some operations, and I was worried about you, and I made those phone calls. So
Yeah,
life is very short and very sensitive. We can't
yeah.
play around because I believe that the people who are looking at us right now, believing us, should know what we intend to do. We will be hosting the World Championships in 2022. Were you surprised when I said where we're going to have the finals at? Or was that consistent with what we should be doing anyhow?
Um, a little bit of both.
Because most
Um,
people are afraid to even say that, right?
right.
Publicly.
And a little bit of both. I do believe it should be where we're at.
We got to do
I
some work.
do. Oh, for sure. And it didn't it didn't surprise me, because I know when you get your mind to something, you're just gonna go forward like a freight train, and it's not gonna stop you. you know and I'll be honest with you. Since we've joined ventures and stuff like that, like I said, I give an idea, and next thing I know, I'm looking at a video at night of that you did an hour after I talked to you and already put it into work. So, that's the whole thing, and that's what's going to really help this out because when you have an idea, I've had so many ideas over the years, and I've told so many ideas over the years, and it's just you got to find that person. I tried to work with a lot of people, and it's very very hard, and we realize that it's in our hands, and we're not putting the responsibility on anybody else. Do we want the help and need the help? Yes. Do we are we looking forward to that venture? Yes. Um, it's but the main thing is it's in our hands, and we have to accept that responsibility, which we talked about, and and you know that's the biggest thing right now is trying to get everything that we're talking about up and running, and everybody. If I had it's like when you open your school. If I had $1 for everybody who said they were going to join my school when I opened it, I'd be more rich than the students I had in my school. So we appreciate everybody saying they're going to help, but we need people to step up and actually help, and our judges clinics, getting things done right, and having every ring the same, and not having a out of bounds over here is a warning, out of bounds over here is a point, simple things like that, and educating, our judges and our students a lot better on what's going on in the sport. So,
So
it's
I
eventually.
noticed, and again, we all in unison with that. And I've noticed that even at your particular tournament throughout the years, you always had it in the gym. And I think that people make a mistake by modeling. Sometimes they just model after things that they see, but that doesn't mean that it's really a better way. How come you always use the gym? Which again, I'm 1,000% for that for a few reasons. But why do you always do that?
Um, well, a couple of reasons. I went out of the gym twice, um, because of opportunities, because everybody else was doing the hotel thing. So I did one tournament at Cocoa Keys because there was a water park inside the hotel, and I thought it would be good for the kids
Cool
and
stuff.
things like that. And that did go well. Um, and then I had it at the Europa Super Show for a couple years, which was they had contacted me, and they wanted me to run an event inside their Super Show, which was bodybuilding, powerlifting.
So is that similar to the Arnold Classic, maybe, or Mr. Olympia?
Oh yes, 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 absolutely. The Europa Super Show is probably, you know, I don't know if it's bigger than the Arnold Classics, but it's huge. You're talking, when they had it in Connecticut, you're talking like 50,000 spectators throughout the weekend. So I mean, it's a big show. The vendors, they have Naga, they have a lot of different things going on at the same time. So that was an opportunity for me to do that. So I did do that, but one year I did tell them, hey, look, I do need the bleachers. It's hard, and they brought in a section of bleachers for me.
Cool.
So that was a good thing.
Now, but why
Um,
did you do that? Because again, I think it just makes sense from a spectator standpoint. Was that is that the reason?
Yes, definitely for a spectator standpoint. It's very hard. When you're especially when you're level, it's very hard to see what's going on. If you look at the biggest nighttime finals of our sport, which is the Quebec Open, they have over 5,500
Can you
spectators.
please say that again? Because a lot of Americans still think that it would be other events. Now, these are again, guys, these are our friends, and but the fact is that the U.S. Open or the Diamonds are not the biggest nighttime finals.
Oh no, definitely the Quebec Open is by far, 5,500 spectators. I remember we were sitting at the VIP table, and my wife turns and she goes, "They got a recording of people yelling and screaming," and I'm like, "No, that's the people really yelling and screaming." It's like she thought it was actually coming over the loudspeakers and you
Wow,
know and everything, but it's set up in bleachers in a college, and it's
interesting.
just so. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine having 5,500 people on the floor? I mean, it's not going to happen.
Well, again, and again, this is the thing where we mentioned about not reinventing the wheel. I mean, the Battle of Atlanta, there's a bird's eye view of one of the events, and you're like, holy smokes. We were already there. And we know that throughout the years, they tested things. And you very well know, guys, it is convenient. I believe that if you have a nighttime show, you could probably put that on a stage. But realistically, for everybody to be able to see, you got to have some depth. You got to have an amphitheater or bleachers in order to make that happen. But I get it. And there's no, again, there's an event. Our first event in New York City is February 10th, presently. However, I am in the process of trying to get that date changed, only because there's another event that same day. And it's not that we're competitive with the, but just to be real, I love the family. They are our friends, and we didn't know that date was scheduled. So again, just so you guys know, we're not gonna badge anybody. That's not what this is about. This is about tapping into a group of people who've been dormant for years that that haven't came out that we believe really would enjoy the same way they did in the past what we're looking at doing. Isn't that true?
Oh, for sure, yes, absolutely. And and getting back to the bleachers things, and I fell into that same feeling of yes, it's great to have it in the hotel, and I fell into that because I can go to my room and I can come downstairs. I can go to my room, I can come downstairs. But when you and I talked and we thought about how it used to be, and you know how it's not spectator friendly, then I started to realize, you know what, he's right. I just got in that, I guess you can probably say, convenient mode where everybody said, "Oh, I don't have to go out of the hotel. I don't have to go down the street." I mean, come on, it's like people don't want to get up to even change the channel. They spend more time looking for the remote than they will go press the button on the TV. So I think that's the same mode that we're all falling into as far as leaving the hotel or just going to the ballroom. And that's when you started talking to me. I said, you know what, he's right, and I agree with that.
In addition to that, guys, a lot of you need help in a variety of ways, including how to, because there's always been a balance of, of competitors not wanting to sell out and be a commercial school. I don't want to be a commercial school. You got to be a professional. There are people right now watching this who do not have an after school program because they think it's babysitting. In the meantime, I believe the cash flow from that really makes a world of a difference. Isn't that correct, sir?
Oh yes, yes. I'll tell you what. And I'm sure everybody can agree with this. It's very hard to run a karate school the way we were taught. It's very hard to yell at a kid, get down, give me 20 push-ups, do the, it's parents pull them out. Parents, they want to sign their kid up for discipline, but as soon as you discipline them, a lot of them get mad and they pull their kid out. As soon as you make their kid do push-ups, oh, it's too hard for him. The kid doesn't want to come. Parents says, oh, now I don't have to take them. So with my after school program, it everybody has to make money and they have to pay the bills. Okay. So with my after school program, it helped me be able to separate my classes because I'm generating revenue from my after school program. Okay. So now I can have a class that just for kids that are not as fast or learners, or they need a little bit more time, or they're a little held back, laid back than others, and I can separate that, and then I can teach another class that I can be extremely strict with and do the push-ups and the harder sparring and things like that because I have my after school to fall back on, you know. And same thing with my summer camp. Summer used to be the worst time for my school. Everybody's on vacation. Nobody wants to pay in the summer. This and that. When I started my summer camp, my summer is the best time for my school now. So the camps that I said the same thing in the beginning, and now I swear by the camps.
Now, so this is my question to you. How many years were you defensive to even do those programs when other people were already doing it?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
For how long did you prevent yourself from doing those programs because of the negative belief of babysitting or what have you?
Oh, I've probably only had my camps maybe for about 10 years out of 30 years of a karate school, you know? So yes, it took me a long time to do it. You know, it took me a long time to change a lot of things. It took me a long time to raise my tuition. Oh, it took me a long time to realize that it's okay to have a camp and a summer camp and different programs, you know. So yeah, it did take me way too long for sure.
And the reason I'm saying this, guys, because you're a sport karate player, and we think that the world has to do sport karate. But if you take percentages, and 80/20 is a pretty good barometer, and then take the 20 and divide that by half of that. Um, how many after school children do you have compared to your student body? Is it 20%, 10%?
Probably like 10%.
So again, these numbers again are pretty consistent. Now, for whatever it's worth, that 10% cash flow, I should say, those is it double what would be a regular student, or
Yes,
is it triple
yes,
what it would be a
yes,
regular student?
yes, yes, double. Yep.
Um, I have a student, and he presently keeps 75 after school children, and they pay between $400 a month, and that's only for the after school. And then they have additional programs where they'll add yoga or what have you, another $100. So he keeps 75 children, paying $400 a month.
Yeah.
He also keeps 275 students maximum, not one more, paying on the average $225 a month. That location grosses $110,000 a month. It's in the Bronx. He owns the building. He's still one of the best martial artists of all time, and it's in great shape. He took the basement about 10 years ago after having it there for about 15 years with rats and roaches, and he uses that as his CrossFit gym. So, guys, you may have some space right now you're not properly utilizing. But there are techniques that we're going to share with you, even when it comes to merchandising. I used to pay my rent twice a year with merchandise, and the biggest time was Christmas. When I created the rec suits, it wasn't for the karate class. It was for the children and parents and myself and staff to wear clothes down the street for branding purposes. So again, just being involved with us, you're going to learn so many ways to increase your bottom line. And that's where our passion and expertise is. We are you, and we know what you go through during these trials and tribulations. You can choose to have a successful school in the summer when it was the worst time, and you can go on vacation during the holiday season if you choose. Some people, like I believe Master Conroy, this week, I think that just passed, you did a few day camps. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And people don't even know what that is. Let's go over what that is. What's a day camp?
Well, day camp is if the school shuts down on a day, if
Veterans
they
Day, I
have
think was
parent
what happened.
teacher,
Yeah, it was Memorial Day.
veteran
Veterans Day? Veterans Day.
veteran Veterans Day, and they had another one that was election day or something like that, and the schools were shut down. So I provided a camp for those children to come in. They pay a price for that day, and we do a camp for the day.
Now, that's another thing. One of those things that for many years, that wasn't happening.
No.
Once you think after school, you start thinking summer camp, and then you also do day camps. And those are streams of income. Let's keep it real. If you were able to get a few $1 million instantly, how would your school look? Because that's what happens. Most of you guys listening, we are what we are. We're passionate about martial arts, so the income really just means that we'll hook the place up more.
Uh, Right. Would I stop? No, I would definitely just hook the place up more. And, actually, my school right now is in the process of being remodeled. So when you come see it, I don't know, last time you were there, the ring was downstairs.
Yes, sir.
Yes, now I brought the ring upstairs, and just boxing and kickboxing is upstairs. Where
Or
that ring was,
kickboxing. You mean you actually have some boxing in your facility also that people may not realize that you can have that too?
Yes, sir. Boxing, kickboxing. Yeah, a whole separate area for that.
And I know you know, I hate to use this word because it's been used out of context so many times, but I know you're a humble guy in the sense that you're not braggadocious, but let's give some historical facts. When I mentioned the World Combat League as an example, from what I gather in that interview, you took on the team as a coach when they were 0-3. And then you was able
Yes,
to bring them around and they lost in the last match of what would have been. Let's talk about that for a second. And talk
yes.
about yourself as a third person, because I know you don't like to brag, but buddy, it's important that people know who we are, honestly, because for whatever it's worth, a lot of people know a lot about me because I've made myself pretty public, but I would not hook up with somebody who's not as equal in other areas, because tomorrow you're also doing something too. So let's talk about first the coaching part of it.
For the World Combat League, assistant coach for Philadelphia Fire, because Jason Tankson was on that team, and he asked the coach there if he can bring me in, and help out assistant coach on that team, and I did that, and then they ended up giving me a team, the New England Strikers, which then the New England Strikers didn't happen, so then they put me as an assistant coach with Derek Panza, and then that was with New York Clash, and Derek he didn't want to coach anymore, so they put me as head coach of New York Clash, and New York Clash had never won a match over the 2 or 3 years what it was, and we did some tweaking and fixing up and some things, and I took the team to the we won the Eastern Conference Championship, and we lost the final match against the LA Stars by one fight in the final match to win the whole thing. So I mean, we
Against
went
their
from
superstar. If it was anybody else, we don't know if you would have been the champion. But because of that, what happened?
because of that, they used to have a talk show, and I ended up winning. Raymond Daniels got MVP of the year, and I got Coach of the Year.
Now, again, when you think about that, now this has been over a decade. For those of you who don't realize, Chuck Norris in the World Combat League was huge. Didn't happen in the third season, and there's a lot of information on why that didn't happen. But for whatever it's worth, guys, the same way he was the coach of the year, they were wearing rec suits. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Am I wrong?
No, you're right. No, you're right.
And matching
Yep, they were.
jackets.
Yes.
And even the shirts they were wearing was made from the same rec suit fabric. It wasn't rash guards. It was from the same fabric. Was that pretty surprising for you?
Um, yes, I mean, I do remember. I believe I believe I was in Texas at the time. Were we? No, yeah. I think we were in Texas at the time, and I just happened to be in the back filling out my licensing and my papers and stuff, and the order, and I heard somebody saying, "Oh, the order of rec suits is here," and I'm like, "Oh, the order of rec suits." I said, "We're using rec suits now." And I'm sure somewhere in my closet, I definitely somewhere have a rec suit, New York Clash top for sure. So I mean, that was pretty surprising to me, But at the same sense, like I said, it's like what we talked about with the venue. It's like I was surprised, but not surprised at the time because like I said, when you're reaching for something, you're going to get it. So it is
And
what it is.
again, guys, again, we're not bragging because it's just a fact. Every week we were on television with the rec suits, the same way when they were in America's Got Talent with Team Sideswipe. And the reason why the rec suits were put into season two and didn't have the name rec suit on it was because season one was sponsored by another group, and season two because the most of the champions that were on the WCL were from Point Karate, and they're the ones that said, we want rec suits, and they paid for them.
Yes.
That created a big problem with the other company because the other company was giving it to them for free, and they paid for hours. So again, guys, quality is something that's extremely important. Let's backtrack a little bit more. Before the WCL, you was also coaching a team, and this team in particular was funny because um, you mentioned Jason Taxon Borelli, and he ended up being in love with Rexu so much. I think he went to a club with it. But let's talk about CJB for a minute.
I don't think he took that thing off for like a year and a half.
Everywhere he went, he had it, right? Even though that he wasn't supposed to be in the club with that.
Yes, yes.
I mean,
Uh,
and they made imagine how I felt. I mean, honestly, to have people come to bat and say, no, no, we want red suits. Or even, someone like Trevor Nash was interesting because he didn't want to wear red suits at all. Because he said that it was gonna be irritating to his skin. And
yes.
then as it turned out, even when he got onto another team for a few years, he won the Diamond Nationals and he always snuck in the red suit pants, even though it wasn't part of the team uniform any longer.
Yes.
And guys, that's important because quality, honestly, is absolutely what we're looking at doing. The joint venture deals that we're gonna do with the school owners is unheard of. No one's ever done that before, but it's the right thing to do. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah. Like you said, with the helping them with their business and promoting them, if they're a member of WUMA, they're school members. Just the instructors will have access to this site and be able to go over different business tips and learn how to run their school and billing and after school programs, summer camps, anything they can, Christmas sales, all of that.
Right. In addition to that, they'll be in what's considered a joint venture program where they'll benefit from every competitor from their school and even
Yes.
spectators. I mean, come on, this is really unheard of. It's like taking three companies, combining them. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And all of us, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to leave my school because I'm not making money, even if a person is going to a tournament and making a couple of $100, you were making zero before. Okay, you were spending money to go. You're making a couple $100 to bring your students to a tournament, you bring spectators, you can go from anywhere from 100 to $800 a tournament, easily on bringing spectators and competitors, and that's just part of business and making sure that you're being compensated for what you're doing. Not just it's not just about you and I, it's about us. It's about all of us.
Right. And again, I mean, on that note, I think we could probably end this because I believe that, and it's important now, and I want to thank you personally, Mike, because even though we spoke about this so many times, we spoke about it. Mike Conroy has been a real true friend to me because anytime I've gone into what would be a rant, I've gotten a phone call, from a real friend saying, "Are you okay?" you know, and I really appreciate that, guys, because I mean, Mike, because when it comes down to it, all we want to do is better. We want to leave the schoolyard or the place better than when we were. I mean, man, I'm getting emotional, guys, and I don't want to. But the fact is that I can envision the future. You made a statement that I want to completely share what it was, but you said something that you saw you and I back to back in a magazine, and that right there got me pumped, baby. You mentioned without saying the magazine, but you did mention the dream, didn't you say that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, had it in a dream. It's going to happen.
Um,
It's going to happen.
I believe that. Well, any last parting words or anything you want to add to so far what we've done so far? Because there's been quite a few things behind the scenes, guys. Believe it or not.
Yes. The only thing that I can leave off with is I made a change years ago, and don't be afraid to make a change and to make things happen and try to do things differently. Open up your minds and you'll be surprised how successful and how different and how much better it can work, and just try. Don't just close your minds to competition or to business help. We're here for you guys, and you know, in the competitor sense, the coaching sense, and the business sense. So I think it's going to be a great venture.
Well, I would have to agree with you with that, obviously, because we're making a public commitment to do that. But the thing I believe that's really also been a little emotional to me is the quality of the people who've reached out to us. And when
Yeah.
that happens, I call you, and it's pretty surprising the ones who have already reached out. Isn't that true?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
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 So you guys don't know what's coming, except I can tell you it's with good intentions, options to make sure that all of us take things to a whole other level. On that note, from formerly from the Bronx over in New Jersey to Connecticut, when I say AB, you say see you, sir. AB,
See ya.
we out of here. Thank you very much. God bless.